Hey, so I wanted to do a video real quick on magnetite. Excuse me. A magnetite. I was reading about uh, magnetite in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. And not reading about it, I'm sorry, I was watching a video about it. And it was one of those things where it's like, really, I thought it was kind of going to be a spoof, and then it seemed real legit. So I started to kind of think about it. I watched that video maybe late last night, early this morning, and it's kind of been bounced around my head for a while. So where I've ended up is the possibility that they say magnetite is um, generated inside the body. I question that, but I don't understand biology to question that. I just think that most of the minerals we get come from outside the body, but apparently they've, uh, or maybe it's in the present. I don't know. I honestly don't know, so I'm not going to even speculate. But they say that we make our own. So apparently, some people make more magnetite than others. And my thinking was that the correlation between Alzheimer's patients having a large amount of magnetite in their brains and the fact that they have Alzheimer's is the fact that they're probably more sensitive to electromagnetic radiation. And Evie really hates me talking to anybody but her, and she is extra, um, I don't know, aggressive, I would say. Not aggressive. She's being lovey, but playful to get my attention. So anyway, the thought process kind of continued. So I was like, okay, so if they have more sensitivity to electromagnetic radiation because they're constantly being stressed out by it because they have more magnets in their brains, then that's probably uh, a lot of people's problems for a lot of different reasons. If that's a major stressor, that's something that should kind of be considered. So I've already been, a crazy person for, my whole life. So I've been avoiding uh, electromagnetic fields from my head for a long time. Although I've certainly become more laxed as of late, maybe the past couple years. But yeah, I shield, I've done it all, to um, protect my brain from stress that I was perceiving, and now I'm kind of getting some validation for that in some of the stuff that I'm reading. And I'm not saying that I've tested my brain and I know that I have more magnetite than the average person. I'm just saying that, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, okay, well that's a potential cause for Alzheimer's because all this stuff is going on with Alzheimer's fraud, with science being sworn by that was apparently doctored, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm thinking about another potential cause that's just on my mind. It's in the news, and so anyway, that's where my brain is, and I'm just like, well, I don't need to really worry about that because I've already addressed that threat to the best of my ability that I consider reasonable. So, but I'm like kind of thinking about it. And then for whatever reason, I started to think about magnetic water filters. And I'm sorry, magnetic water softeners. And I used to sell them when they very first came out, and I mean like 15 years ago, to replace traditional softeners. And my boss was big on it. It was kind of like pseudoscience to me. I think I installed one at his house, and that was, I think, the only one I installed. But I was just thinking about magnets today, and I thought about that, and so I was looking up online to see if because you don't want apparently more magnets in your brain. Now, another thing that I was thinking of is if those magnets were nanoparticles, uh, they could probably pass through the blood-brain barrier, um, and essentially add to your burden already, by making you more sensitive to your electromagnetic environment, which is generally not, it's more sensitivity. It's more suffering. So yeah, so you don't want magnets in your brain. That's something that I think is understood. If it's in the brain of Alzheimer's patients, it's something you probably don't want in your brain. So I was thinking, well, where do you want magnets? And it's like, okay, well, if they've got this potential to do harm, then it may be in a water filtration for sterilization. So I looked up the water softeners, and there is apparently, they got the different guys, and they show in the videos, whatever, and they're talking about they got different animations and different anecdotal evidence. Look, it takes years, but eventually, the scale falls off your pipes, etc., etc. And you don't have to worry about it going anymore, and it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of just enough where I can't prove it and put money back. But it's such a small investment, you're never going to send it back because the postage costs more. It's one of those things where it's like you can't really touch and feel the evidence. But then there was this news report, and it was these Australian farmers, and they were kind of saying what I was thinking with that, but they were like, look, our fruit, our vegetables, we started to see improvements in our yield, and now on an industrial scale they were using huge magnets for their irrigation systems, but they were running their water through magnetic fields prior to watering their fields. Fields and fields used differently in that term. I messed myself up for a second, but no, that's accurate. Then after a few weeks, they started to see improvements over the previous year, and they all seemed like it struck me as genuine. It really did. So I figured for the nominal cost, but another thing I was worried about is them breaking up. So I'm jumping back. So I went out and purchased 25 neodymium, and the ones that they sell are ferrite. They're not very powerful magnets. The ones that I got are rare earth, very powerful magnets, because the ones that basically what I'm trying to emulate, if not exceed, is the electromagnetic field produced by the $100 product, which essentially you're wrapping a 24-inch piece of copper with a small amount of electromagnetic material, and you're energizing it, and that inductive field changes the water, right? So, but that's a tightly wrapped electromagnet, right? Over 24 inches. I'm not gonna pretend to be, something I'm not, but a ferrite, something that's 2 inches that clamps on the pipe, isn't as good, even if it's only $15. But some really powerful neodymium ones that are, they're about 2 and 3/4 inch, maybe 2.5 inches long, something like that. 2.5 inches long, but I got 25 of them, so I got about 50 inches of high-powered magnet that's probably significantly more powerful. That, it's not even close. Let me just put it that way, because the lift capacity of the neodymium magnets could probably lift like 200 pounds combined, whereas that electromagnetic inductive coil could probably lift like 2 pounds. So I'm dealing with a lot more force for $20, but I gotta get zip ties too. Actually, I could use electrical tape, but for $24 instead of $150, and I have permanent magnets that don't require any electricity. I'm gonna basically strap magnets all around my house, on all my copper plates. Try to keep them outside of my brain, but to treat my water with them. And so I was kind of speculating as to the reason why. Why is there a benefit to the plants? Why are they growing better? And I thought that there might be, because it's farm water and it's probably not the greatest quality. There's probably or there might be kind of a germicidal effect going on. So the magnets, ironically, react, and I don't know this for certain. This is my theory. The bacteria. This is a fact, but the rest is my theory. I'll tell you one of this theory. The bacteria have the same magnetite in their cells that we have in our brains, and maybe a greater concentration per cell. I'm not sure, but now this is my theory. That is the reason there is a germicidal effect when you expose, like, I think it's staph. I don't, staphylitis, whatever it's technically called. But I looked it up, and there are bacteria that are that can be killed by a magnetic field. And my theory as to the mechanism is the magnetite that is also, by a fact, in some bacteria, or all bacteria, I don't know. So that's my theory for the reason the plants grew better, although it could be wrong. There could be multiple benefits, but that is a potential benefit. Now, while that's something that's cool to me because that's a potential risk, and a specific potential risk because I use reverse osmosis already. And one of the problems with reverse osmosis is the potential for bacteria to grow in your expansion tank or your storage tank. So I'm definitely going to be strapping some high-powered neodymium magnets to my PEX tubing coming from my reverse osmosis water tank in the hopes of gaining that benefit. Because at that point, that should be my only risk, is any bacteria growth from my equipment itself. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at with magnets right now. It's taking it to the next level, and really trying to not just mitigate, the risk, and understand maybe the mechanism and theorize about that being a potential cause of Alzheimer's or neurodegenerative disease, besides underlying everything else that's gnawing away at our humanity and flesh for all of time. The fact of the matter is, it's another stressor, and how much of a stressor is not understood by all people equally, and I think it's important to understand why. And to say that somebody is crazy because they might have more magnetite in their brain um, is dangerous and potentially deadly if they later get a disease and have recklessly exposed themselves to suffering and confusion for a lifetime because they didn't know to not expose themselves to maybe high voltage power lines where someone else has no problem. You know, it's just it's becoming a little bit more than a theory, um, but beyond that, like let's try to use it for something good and understand why it's good, and that might be a part of the reason is that the the magnet's destructive power is destructive to other life forms, the microorganisms that are in our drinking water, and not just the calcium deposits. You know, so yeah.